this on its own. I'm not the biggest fan. I might have 3 different gauges during this project. Especially for its structure, my gauge just switches up. One thing I kind of hate about the fact that I made this a cardigan is that I'll have to do buttons. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, current projects, finished projects, planned projects, yarn with the plan, yarn without the plan, just anything that pops into my head while we sit here and chat. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. I've had loads of fun knitting this week. I have knit on projects I think are really fun. I finished a lot of projects which I think is really fun, which also have led me to being able to cast on loads of projects which I think has been fun. Tried out different yarn combos, tried a new pattern. It's just been a lot of fun this week. But before we get into everything I've been knitting on this week, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm currently wearing. This is not my first time wearing this, won't be my last time wearing this, so I'm going to try to be brief, try my best, we'll see. But this is my sweater, no, it's my zipper sweater. It's the regular zipper sweater by Petiteknit, not the light version. I love this. We are coming up on the 2-year anniversary of me knitting this, and I actually have not really worn it or loved it until now. I thought it fits a bit weird. The zipper is a bit meh. It was one of my first time doing the zipper, and the only time where I've truly been like unhappy with the result. I think something with the yarn made it really hard to sew in the zipper. This is 2 strands of Drops Flora and 1 strand of Kid Silk, so I think the fabric just pulled really easily, which means that the zipper is wonky here. It's really not bad, it just makes a bump when I zip it up, but I don't really like it zipped up anyways. I much more prefer it like this, so the shoulders drop a bit more and it just fits me a bit better that way. I have a bit of an issue I'm realizing more and more with a lot of my Petiteknit knits not fitting me the exact way I love them to. They are quite oversized for me in the body, which was intended for a few of them, but I don't love the look of oversized body with not very oversized yoke. The sleeves on this, I want to say are oversized, but I can tell when I like try to show the oversized that it's not really. So that's what I've struggled a bit with this, as well as many other knits, that when I wear it more as intended, it kind of is very true to size, just a few centimeters of positive ease here and in the sleeves, and then you get to the body and you get the like recommended amount of ease. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that information. Luckily for this, I figured out a way I enjoy to wear it, just so I get a bit more room in the shoulders and therefore also in the sleeves. But I think that means that I'm going to knit less from Petiteknit patterns, or I might have to learn to modify the yoke of it somehow, because I do like her patterns. They are very timeless. I like the way they are intended to fit. They just tend to not fit me that way, and then I end up disappointed with my knits, and that's not a very fun feeling after you've spent hours knitting something. And instead of continuing to ignore that and just hope for the best with the next project, I think my goal for 2025 is to actually figure out either designers that I think fit my body great, or how to modify Petiteknit so I can still knit her patterns but get a better fit for me. But luckily I figured out this fall that I like it if I just wear it open and pull it up a bit instead of like this. So now I actually get loads of wear out of it. It's been one of my most worn knits this fall after almost not wearing it at all for a year and a half. So I'm really happy with that, and hopefully with all of the other knits I have, some of them I really love even though they don't have the intended fits, but I have a few more I don't really wear because of that. So hopefully I can figure something out for all of them so I can wear all of my knits loads. But that's it for my zipper sweater and just thoughts around that. And now we can move into what I've been knitting on this week. And as always, first up we have the wedding dress, and this week I am really proud of myself because I am actually filming this podcast a day early, which means I have had one day less this week than usual to knit. And even if I've had one day less, I've actually been able to knit on this. I think I've said my goal is to do a little bit here and there. Slow and steady wins the race. Turns out I'm not a very slow and steady person. I either knit nothing or I knit a lot, and I have been saying I need to work on this. I really want this done by the end of December, so that means I actually need to work on this. And I do really want to make that happen. So today I sat down and I made up my mind that I was not going to knit on anything else than this until I had finished a whole skein of the Sandnes garn sisu I use for this. I also use alpaca for the throw, but those skeins are like 450 or 400 meters or something. And that's just so long, it's 400 meters. So I almost finished this skein as well, but I finished my skein of sisu. I also put in a stitch marker where I started. So this is the amount I got done today. I think that's almost 10 centimeters. It might be like 8 centimeters. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think I did it for like 2 or 3 hours. So I'm pretty happy with my progress given that time, and that means to me that means that it's very likely that I'm going to be able to finish it in December. I just need to actually prioritize it, but I now see that if I prioritize it I can make quite a lot happen. Also, after finishing that skein, I wanted to try it on because I have added a couple of centimeters to this. I also wanted to see how heavy this is getting. I wanted to see how much I have left. I would say 30 centimeters. Maybe need to try it on more as we get closer, but still a ways to go. And it's also not very heavy when I'm just standing in it, but I can feel like I walked upstairs and I could definitely feel that this is a very much heavier dress that I'm used to wearing. I could like feel the weight of the dress as I was stepping up the stairs. Not like it's too heavy or anything, but it's definitely noticeably heavier than a like regular dress would be. And I can feel that like lugging it around now, but I don't think it's going to be too heavy, but it's definitely very like substantial in weight, and it's so warm. I tried it on and even went outside with this, and I also had all of the mohair stuff on, and it is quite cold today, but with all of this on it wasn't that cold, and wearing it inside I was boiling. It was so warm. So I think this dress is going to be amazing for winter wedding. I'm really excited about that. And with trying this on, I also got to try on the mohair skirt fully finished for the first time. So out of everything I tried on today, I tried on the mist sleeves and the pearl belt and the mohair skirt and the wedding dress, and out of all of that the wedding dress is the only thing that's not been cast off. So I am really close to actually being done with what makes the wedding dress, and then I only have accessories to go. I'm super excited about that. I'll pop in a picture here, maybe even a video of me trying it on. I am quite happy with how it looks all together. I really like the look the mohair skirt gives. Of course this isn't fully long enough yet, so that does something with how it looks when it's on, but I really love it when it's all together. But this on its own, I'm not the biggest fan of, which I also need to figure out, because most of the time I'm going to be wearing this just on its own because I won't be able to wear all of that mohair when we're inside. I figured that out today. It's just way too hot, way too warm, can't do that. So I need to figure out how to feel better in just this. I don't know what it is, but I don't think I feel like this part has enough going on or enough, and also not enough hold. I don't really love the way it molds to my body, but also I am going to wear something else underneath that I have been trying it on with, so I need to figure that out so I can try it on with that soon. And then also I think I'm going to sew in an elastic here, because this is just not, this part here with the I-card is just not as tight fitting as I thought and hoped it would be, but I have an elastic I think would fit in here, so I'm going to do that before the next time I try it on, and hopefully as it all comes together more and more and more, I'll love it all. But I do like enjoy them together, and I do think this has great potential. I've just not gotten to the place where I am really that happy with it. I don't love it as it is. I just need to figure out what to do to make myself love it, but I think some pearls or beads or something maybe, and then also an elastic, and then something better underneath as I try it on. I think that will help a lot, and then we'll just have to see from there. But that is the wedding dress and the progress this week. I am really happy with that. I'm really happy I actually remembered to make some progress this week, so hopefully I'll stick to that. I think we only have 2 weeks left of the year, so I have to do a bit more than a skein a week going forwards, but maybe like 1 skein at the middle of the week and 1 skein at the end of the week, and then I'll be done. And my goal for this year is just to be done with the actual knitting part, and then all of the beads and figuring out how I want it to fit a bit better and all of the like details. That's why I want it finished this year, so I have 2 months to just figure that out, hone in and make it perfect. But the knitting part, if I finish that this year, I'm much more confident than that I'll be able to figure all of the other stuff out in time. But that's it for the wedding dress. And then my next oldest project that I really want to get off my needles now. I have loved knitting on it. I love knitting on it still. I love the whole thing, but now I'm just ready to get it off my needles. I am very much a project knitter and not a process knitter, so having things on my needles for super long, it's just not for me. But here is my sweater number 20. I had plans to try this on today as well, but we ran out of light really quickly, so I wanted to be able to try on the wedding dress while it was daylight and also film while it was daylight, and then I'll see how much time I have left to try this on afterwards. But last week I finished this sleeve, and then this whole week I was like, okay, now I'm going to pick up the second sleeve, and I just never found the time. But yesterday, late yesterday, I finally picked up the second sleeve and worked a skein. I think it was maybe a bit less than a skein because I've used a bit of it to finish the ribbing here, but almost a skein on the first sleeve, and I'm really happy with my progress, and I'm really happy with how this looks and how close I am to being done now. But I've been looking at this and I'm going a bit crazy with it, because it seems to me that I might have 3 different gauges during this project. I have 1 gauge on the actual like body and yoke of my project, and then this sleeve is 1 gauge, and then this sleeve is another gauge. I don't know if you can tell. Do they look like the same gauge? I can't really tell. I think this looks a bit looser and this looks a bit tighter. It also might just be that I haven't knit the sleeves for as long, but I have had issues with that before. I'm pretty sure that when I work on a project for super long, and not only that I work on it for long, but the reason I work on it for long is because I keep taking really big breaks in the middle of the project, especially for its structure. My gauge just switches up, which I'm afraid has happened now, that I was a bit of a looser knitter doing the body, and then I got super tight, and now I am the loosest I've ever been on this sleeve, and it's really hard to tell because I haven't gotten as far on them. But if I'm right that I am a looser knitter now, I'm going to keep this sleeve and finish that up. And if they're not the same at all, if it's very obvious that the gauge is different, then I'm going to frog this and do it again. I'm also scared, nervous, excited to start on the body again because it's been weeks since I touched the body last. So if my gauge really has changed, that's going to be interesting to see in the middle of the body. But hopefully it's just my mind and eyes playing a trick on me and I haven't actually switched up my gauge. Please give me your opinions. It's a bit hard to show, but here are, no, this was horrible, a horrible way to show it. Here it's the first sleeve with all of the different cables. Just looks a lot looser to me, and here is that sleeve. So try to show it at the same time. See? Or do they look the same? Am I just insane? I don't know. Maybe the difference, if there is a difference, is also small enough that it will be gone by blocking. Maybe blocking will also make the difference more apparent. I have no idea what's going on. Also, maybe by the time I start knitting on this again, my gauge will be smaller again. Don't know, because I don't have the time to work a lot on this right now because we're in the middle of Christmas season, Christmas gifts, Christmas projects, seasonal projects, ornaments. The list is pretty packed with everything I want to do. So I'm just doing a little bit on this here and there. I think me and my friend has set us a goal of being done by December 18th, which I have full faith that we're going to be able to do. This is my what's it called? Progress. One sleeve, half a body, and then a third of a sleeve, maybe a fourth of a sleeve done. And my friend has finished the body of hers and started on a sleeve. I think maybe by the time this comes out she will almost be done with the sleeve because it's still a while until this comes out, 2 days. So I think she'll be able to make quite a bit of progress during that time. So we're almost done. I'd say I've been in front of her almost the whole time. I've been a couple of rows in front, or I finished the yoke a couple of days before her, but at this time I think she might be a bit in front of me as she has finished the body and gotten quite far on one sleeve, while I have just finished a sleeve and gotten about the same length as her on the other sleeve and still have the body, or like half the body at least to go. So we'll see. I do really enjoy that we're knitting the same sweaters in the same yarn in the same size, because if I'm ever like worried about the length of the body or something, I'll just ask how many of these front cables she has, and then I'll just count to see if I have the same amount. I also try it on as well, just in case our torso is a bit different in length, but it's like a good way to like measure without having to try it on all the time, and then I kind of know the ballpark of where I want it to be. I know she did the ribbing of her body, she just did that in the round. I want to do a split hem on mine, but other than that I don't think the only difference between our sweaters will be the color. We're both knitting in Drops Alaska. I'm knitting in the color Sand and she's knitting in the color Chocolate, I think. But that's my sweater number 20 this week. I am really excited for this to be done. We're starting to get some really cold weather and I'm starting to be really cold both inside and out. So I want this chunky sweater on my body as soon as possible. So hopefully in between everything else I'll be able to knit and finish this. And then I have to think what my next active project is. I do have quite a few. But I think, let me just see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I have that sitting mat. We're not going to talk about that this week. So I think the next project then is something I haven't touched all week. And that's the Alfred what's it called? Alfred sweater by Petiteknit that I'm knitting for my son. This is in the size 5 to 6 years, so I'm not really stressed about not knitting on it right now. It's just not the most Christmassy sweater. I wouldn't say it's that far away from being a Christmas sweater either in color, but I have more Christmassy things I'm knitting on, so this is getting a bit of a break. I do imagine I'll be coming back to this if I just need a break, just something I won't have to think about. The wedding dress, I have to think about everything all the time. Quite a tiring mental project. Same with the cables and the row in between the cables and remembering all of the different cables. This also has a fair bit of structure, but once you're like in the groove, it's quite a mindless structure, because it's just ribbing that shifts every 4 rows. So I think I'll be back to this when I just need to turn off my brain, especially now that we're getting more and more into Advent and Christmas and preparing and stressing. I think stressing and Christmas time go together, maybe, but I think this will be great to have during that time. And this one I'm knitting in Klumpelumpe Tynn Merino Ull in a color, I'm not sure what the name is, but it's number 3355. I think this is a discontinued color because I picked it out probably because of that, because those tend to be a lot cheaper. But I really like how this is looking, but there's nothing to update on since last week. And then the next project, now we're starting to get more into the really Christmas themed project, and that's this project. Let's see if I can get it out. I'm pretty sure I hadn't started on this project last week when we spoke. This is the teddy bear sweater that I have modified into a cardigan. That was quite the journey. I had to cast on a fewer stitches because I'm doing button bands. So the front had to be a bit shorter because the button bands add length at the end. So I had to figure out how many fewer stitches I would cast on, and then had to figure out how to do the German short rows when it wasn't a sweater. But I think in the end it ended up fine. I had to frog once, but that was actually not because I had thought wrong when it came to German short rows or cast on the wrong amount of stitches, but when I'd done the easiest part of it, dividing into raglan sections, my counting was off, and that's a problem I often have when I do sweaters as well. So I had to frog because of that once, but other than that, it's been pretty smooth sailing. And then I was able to just finish the raglan. That was just as easy as if it had been a sweater, just that you have to work back and forth, of course. So that takes a bit longer. I really enjoy these two yarns together. These are the leftovers from my Christmas dress. I'm almost out of the Flora, but I have this skein here. It's in Drops Flora and Drops Kid Silk, the scraps from my Christmas dress. I love the way they work together on my Christmas dress, and I love how soft my Christmas dress is. I really think, I'm so sorry, I got so much mohair in my face, both from talking about this and the mohair peeling away from this, but also when I tried on the wedding dress, so there's just mohair everywhere in my face. But I really enjoy how soft the combination of Flora and Kid Silk is. I almost think it's a softer combination than Kid Silk and Merino is. I really, really, really enjoy that. It's one of my favorite combinations, so I've been so excited to knit this one for a year, ever since I finished my Christmas dress, but then it was a bit too late to make another Christmas themed thing. So this year I'm ready. I've been loving it. I think I got this far before I ran out of any yarn, and now I've run out of the Kid Silk ones and the Flora ones. So this is how far you get with one skein of each, and now I have I think about 10 centimeters left of stockinette before the ribbing on the body, and then just sleeves and button bands left. So this has gone surprisingly fast. I did not think this would progress that fast. It has been on a bit of a break for the last couple of days. I can't really remember when I put it on a break. Maybe it's been on a break for 2 days. Just because I need to prioritize some Christmas gifts that we are giving away because they have to be shipped, and that takes a bit of time. But I'm almost ready to get back to working on this, and it's not that far away from being done. One thing I kind of hate about the fact that I made this a cardigan is that I'll have to do buttons. I'll have to figure out what buttons I like, I'll have to figure out the spacing of the buttonholes, and I'll have to actually sew in the buttons. So I hate the fact that I made this a cardigan, but I do truly think that we'll be able to get more use out of a cardigan than we would a sweater. We also just have so many sweaters, so we don't need another one, whereas I don't make as many cardigans, partly because of that button problem. I'm also making this in the size 5 to 6. I think I have pretty much moved on from the other sizes. I still have some things I want. I think one sweater I want to make in 3 to 4 year size. I have one sweater left in that, and then maybe one in 4 to 5, but that's pretty much filled all of the gaps in those sizes. So I've moved on to 5 to 6 years, which I really love making the bigger sizes because they'll just be oversized for a while, and then we'll get to use them even longer. But that is my son's Christmas cardigan. I hope he'll enjoy it and that he won't be bothered by the mohair. I don't think I've made him that many things using mohair because I really like thick, like DK weight merino yarn, or I really like to make him sweaters using 3mm needles as well. So I think the only things he's had with mohair maybe has been the baby bear bonnets. So I'm excited to see his reaction to that. But that is my next to last project, I think. And then my last active project, I am going to cast on another active project pretty much right after this because I'm still doing Christmas gifts. But my last active project right now is my Christmas sweater. I have thought about making myself a Christmas sweater ever since I got this yarn up here in stash. It's Ask Hillesvåg in the color Bonnerød. Here it is. It's this lovely, quite rough, it's like rough, but also after washing really soft and just beautiful yarn. Also this color amazing. So ever since I had this color, I've been thinking about doing Christmas sweater. I haven't found a pattern that just screams to me that I have to make that. And as I said, I do have a bit of a problem with Petiteknit fitting me right, and a bit of a problem finding just for this sweater, just a problem finding something that I thought was perfect. So I've decided to design it myself. Don't know if that's the best idea given that we're on a time crunch before Christmas and I didn't think of starting until this week, but I've made a swatch, checked my gauge, washed it to see how that worked out, and here my swatch is. This is on 5mm needles and it is quite holy, but not really when it's just like this, and it's just an amazing fabric to touch, and I'm really happy with just the way it looks when I look at it. So I was sold about that gauge immediately, and also 5mm needles, great. I've had quite enough of like 4mm sweaters for some time, and I've knit with like 4.5 and 5.5mm needles for the structure knits I've been knitting recently and loving that. So I really wanted to add a 5mm sweater to my wardrobe, and I've been thinking about the design of this and what I like, and I do like the quite simple sweaters. I don't like the like loads of details, loads of different things. I I like them simple, so I think this is going to be a very simple sweater. I'm thinking oversized, hopefully, just a bit, nothing like crazy, but a bit oversized. I'm thinking drop shoulder. I hope I'll be able to do German short rows in the back. That seems really scary to do when you don't follow a pattern. And then I really want to be able to do a turtleneck. This yarn it's a bit rough, but after washing it's not really. And my issue, because I have a bit of an issue with turtlenecks, my issue with turtlenecks has never been it being itchy with mohair, just a bit that it's been itchy, but that's never been the main problem. But a lot of my turtlenecks, I think all of my, now I have one Petiteknit turtleneck and one Knitting for Olive turtleneck, and the turtleneck part is just so tight. I don't enjoy it. I want the turtleneck to be more cozy, and for me, say like this, for me to be able to like tuck my chin into, hopefully also a bit bigger than this. So I really hope I'll be able to do that with this, to make a quite basic sweater with a really big, but still not too big, still I like practical turtleneck, and then to make it more of like, so you can see that it's actually a Christmas sweater. My idea is to embroider on it. I still haven't been able to pick out what color I'll do, but embroider these little, they're supposed to be stars, either in silver or gold. I really like the silver because the yarn was easier to work with. Totally honest, I'm not good at embroidery, so the yarn being a help was really great. And also the silver stands out a bit more. But then again, I also really like the gold, because I could do either single-stranded or double-stranded for a bit of mix in effect. And I think gold suits red a bit better than silver does, but it was a bit harder to work with. So I'm not sure, but that's my idea, that the sweater will be really basic, and then the like biggest like Christmassy thing about it will be that it has gold and that it has stars on it. I think that would be really nice, really cool. And the reason why it's a whip is not because I've done a swatch, it's because I've actually cast on. Really scary. I think I'll end up frogging a couple of times, I don't know, but this is the back, and I've done some German short rows. I'm scared about them working out. I think I'll do a couple more rows on the back, and then I'll pick up the first shoulder just to see if it makes sense at all. But yeah, it's very hard to show because it keeps curling up now, but that's the start of my Christmas sweater. Also, I don't know if you can see, but before washing, it's much more open, and the stitches are also a bit more uneven. Of course, it's a bit hard to see because I've embroidered on it, but it looks a lot better after washing. I really love that. So I'm super excited, but this is not what I've been working the most on. I just did this while I was visiting my grandma because I didn't have any other project that would travel well. So I'm just knitting a bit on this here and there. Once I've finished my son's cardigan and also all the Christmas gifts, then this will be my main priority. But until then, this will have to wait, because if it turns out I don't have time, then I just don't have time. I can't prioritize this over everything else and the Christmas gifts and everything. But at least I think I have a plan that I am quite happy with. So that's something, and it's been really fun to try to embroider, really fun to try to think it up. So I think the progress going forward will be really fun as well. But those are all of my active projects, quite a few active projects. And then I've also throughout the week been able to finish quite a few projects. So let's see here. I did say during the last podcast that I would be better at weaving in ends this week. That didn't happen. I had plans to do it, but then I just wanted to finish things as quickly as possible, because it's easier for me to know how long it's going to take me to weave in the ends than to finish the whole project, and since a lot of these are going to be given away and shipped and everything, and the deadline is strict if I'm going to be able to make it before Christmas, I just wanted to make it. Also, a lot of the people we know are like knitters or have knitters in the family, so if I'm not able to weave in then, just able to knit, I would still be able to give it away, is my reasoning. And also I just didn't want to. But the first thing I finished, it's a bit dark, I don't know how well you can see it. The first thing I finished is yet another Uværslua. I don't know if I can say how much I love this pattern. I think at this point it might just be an obsession as well, because I just think about Uværslua. Who can I make a Uværslua for? Do you know anyone else that would need a Uværslua? Do you want a Uværslua? And I also have great news. During this week, the pattern was translated into English. So if you're interested, this pattern is available in English. I haven't learned the English name, if there is a different English name. But Uværslua by Strikkesoffe, now also in English. This I've knit in Knitting for Olive. I think it's my first one knitted in Knitting for Olive. I think so. I really like the feel and the look Knitting for Olive gives. This is in the color Froskegrønn and in the size 5 to 6 years. This is a Christmas gift for one of my son's friends. I think we're going to be giving it away tomorrow, so that's why it had to be done this week. And then I knit another Uværslua, which I really didn't need to make, but when I tell you I'm obsessed with Uværslua, that's just so true. I don't know how to tell you, but I just love Uværslua. So I just made the tiny one, because this big one, when knitting in Knitting for Olive, you double strand. So what was left from the 2 skeins I'd used to make this took, I think, 66 grams. So what was left of the 2 skeins I was able to make this with. This is the size newborn, I think, the smallest size in the pattern, and this I used 35 grams for. So I kind of got this for free, and since I realized I would get to make this from what was left of the other yarn, I just couldn't resist, so just had to make that one. That will go in my gift basket, but it's so cute. I really recommend this pattern. I want to make another one of these. And then the next project, again, Uværslua. They're just great. And also all of my son's friends are getting these. This is the same as the big green one, just that this is in dark blue. This is also the 5 to 6 year size. And with this, it was so hard to convince myself to not do a repeat of this and not make a smaller version of this, but we are on a time crunch. I have less and less time to finish everything in time. It's definitely going to happen with the scraps I have left of this, that I'm going to make a small hat, but for now I need to focus on everything I need to have done in time. But this is another in Knitting for Olive. I really like these 3 in Knitting for Olive. I really want to make my son one in the same yarn. But I thought after these that I would be done with Uværslua. But then, just because it's starting to be so many Christmas gifts at this point, I had my fiancé sit and write down a list. I was knitting on the wedding dress because I just really needed to get in everything on that. So I was knitting on that, and I had him write a list with like my mom and what she's getting, and my grandma and what she's getting, and all of my son's friends and what they're getting. And we had a couple I haven't knit for yet, so I think I have 2 left to make Uværslua for, that I also need to give away tomorrow, so I need to make those tonight. But they're not the huge sizes. I think I'm going to do 3 to 6 months and 2 years, or 2 to 3 years. I can't remember the sizes. So those should go by quite quickly, and hopefully I'll be able to do them tonight or maybe early tomorrow. And then I also have 2 other friends left that have Uværslua from before that I need to make like Sunday socks for. So I still have quite a few left, but I only have 4 left, and 2 of them will be done by this time tomorrow. So I feel good. This time last year I had no Christmas gifts done, so whatever happens from now, I've done the best I could, a way better job than I've ever done before, and the people in my life are used to getting their Christmas gifts in January, sometimes February, so we should be good. I also have to make mittens for my sister and 1 friend of mine, so I have 6 gifts left. Should be doable, but only 2 of them need to be done by like the date you have to get everything shipped, and everyone else lives here, so I should be good. But I have finished one more thing that's also a Christmas gift, and that's these. These are Oneday Selbu mittens by also Strikkesoffe. I think almost all of the Christmas gifts I'm giving this year is by Strikkesoffe. I just am in a Strikkesoffe obsession. I really enjoy her patterns. This is the Oneday Selbu mittens. I know my mother has made multiple of these. I really love how they turn out when she does it. And I had some drops air in my stash and some Kid Silk Erle, the same yarn I used to make my friend's sweater and her 2 sons. I made them all sweaters, and I had yarn left after that, so I wanted to make these, and then I found 2 strands of drops alpaca and 1 strand of Kid Silk in white, and combined those. So the white is 2 strands of alpaca and 1 strand of Kid Silk, and the blue is 1 strand of air and 1 strand of Kid Silk Erle. And together they worked out really well. I really love how these turned out. And the Oneday Selbu mittens is true because I used about 24 hours on these, and I was working with 5 strands at the time. That was a bit chaotic, but worked out. And I think even though they are very different yarns, that the gauge worked out. And these are for my friend that I knit those sweaters for, so she'll have kind of matching mittens to the sweater I made her, which I think was really cute. I am almost a bit envious. I really like how these turned out. I think they're so soft, the softest mittens I've ever felt in my life. I love the color. I'm really proud that I was able to make these. I haven't made that many mittens before in my life, and I think these were my first color work mittens. So I'm almost a bit jealous, but I think it will be great. And I did measure the yarn afterwards, and I think I should have enough to make myself a pair as well. So might do that, but also not anytime soon because colorwork mittens were a lot, even if it only took 1 day. So I'm going to have a bit of a break. But these are the last thing I finished. I think finished these late last night. So I am almost done with Christmas gifts, which I'm really excited for, because then I can focus on my son's Christmas cardigan and my Christmas sweater, and also ornaments. Still haven't made any ornaments. I'm a bit afraid it's going to turn out like last year, that I keep making other things and get other good ideas and I won't end up making any ornaments. But luckily this year we're very lucky, and my son has gotten ornaments in his advent calendar every day from my mother. She has made him small cute little ornaments, I don't know when, throughout the last couple of months, and he's getting one each day. He loves them. He has his own little basket where he puts them each day and where he saves them until we put them on the 23rd. There is still quite a few days left until the 23rd, so I hope that I can also make some by then. So both me and my mom have made some ornaments for our 3. I did make a couple last year, but I think maybe only like 5 or 10 just really simple I-cord bow ornaments. They're cute but very simple. It went by quite quickly, so hopefully this year I'll be able to make some of the ones I've looked at, but I just have to finish everything first. Hopefully I'll finish. I had planned on casting on mittens today, but I'm going to do those Uværslua, hopefully 2 today, and then a pair of mittens maybe tomorrow. And then I only have 1 pair of mittens and 2 pair of socks left. So I feel like I'm really close to being done. Feels great. But now I have to weave in all of these ends. But I had a look in my basket of shame today, and it looks quite empty. Like when we started this was overflowing, and now there really isn't that much left in here. If I take out the last couple of projects, see, these are the like bad projects from last year, and let's count them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 left, combined with this blanket from last week and my, what's it called, Celeste sweater, that's 6. So I'm really close to being done. I also have the mohair skirt and all of the wedding dress stuff to weave in and so on, but I'm not counting that because that's its own little world. So I am really close to being done, but to stay close to being done, we're going to weave in ends on these today, and then hopefully I'll get to all of that later. I did actually, even though I did not weave in ends on any of these this week, I'm not going to start on the mittens because they seem quite difficult to weave in and so on. I might cheat and give those to my mom and grandma because I don't mess with color work and weaving in ends and fluffy yarn, everything. It just seems like a bad idea. But I did weave in ends this week. I wove in ends on the 2 Sunday socks that I made my twin cousins because I finally got to send them their birthday gift. So I did weave in ends this week. I just finished more project than I wove in ends for. And then I also this week did sew in buttons for my son's cardigans. I think there were 3 cardigans that weren't fully finished. He had one where I've sewn in buttons before, but the buttons keep breaking. I don't know what it is with those buttons, but it's my 2nd time replacing buttons for it. The buttons keep breaking in half, but as it is right now, it's good. So I had to fix that, and then I had 1 cardigan from this summer that I hadn't weaved in ends on, and no, I hadn't sewn in buttons on, and then the sweater from last January. So now all of those are finished. I sewed buttons into all of them, so I'm quite proud of that, even though I didn't weave in any ends this week. I did make good progress on other things, and I did sew in buttons. So if you count all of those as like finishing projects, I finished 3 sweater cardigans for my son, and then 2 pairs of socks. I finished 5 things, and I only finished knitting 4 things, so I kinda finished more things when it came to weaving in ends and buttons than I finished with knitting. So that is making progress, and if I keep this up, I should be done by New Year. As it is right now, I don't have any finished projects that I have to weave in, sew in buttons on, and hopefully with the Christmas cardigan, since that is a very time sensitive cardigan, I'll be able to sew in the buttons immediately. I think this time as well I still haven't found my scissors, so I'm just going to weave in the ends on these, and then I'll cut off the ends later. I was also really glad this week when I was weaving in the ends on the Sunday socks that I'd already woven in the ends on the Uværslua, because that meant less ends for me to weave in then. I got a lot of good suggestions last week when I asked what you wanted to hear about while I sat here and wove in ends. And one of them was if I could go through everything that is in this shelf here with like my main plans, and I can do that. My goal for that shelf is to keep it very updated, keep the yarn I am currently working on and what I think will be my very next few projects. I want to keep that in that shelf, and I've tried to sort it a couple of different ways. I'm not great at keeping to it, but at the very top shelf is empty. That's where I plan to keep like small gift knit quantities of yarn, like for hats and mittens and everything, but that's empty right now. And then here I have yarn for my friend's sweater, the same friend that I made mittens and all of those sweaters for. She bought the yarn and I'm going to make the sweater, and that's the Augustine's number 1. A really amazing sweater. It looks so good. I really want to knit it, so that's why I have that yarn. I think it is merino extra fine, drops merino extra fine in greige, and then drops kid silk in light beige. So I'm really excited for that project. That's probably going to be a spring project next year. So I'll make it in time for her 30th birthday next year. So I'm excited for that. And then next to that yarn right here is the Alaska I have left for my sweater number 20. That shelf is also really supposed to be for like gift knits, but more like sweater quantity gift knits, but I really thought my sweater number 20 yarn fit in here, and since I'm making it in a knit along together with a friend I'm knitting that sweater for, it just made sense to me. So that lives there, and in the shelf underneath I have, this is like my mood board for knitting this season, all of my Christmas like mood board knits with all of that yarn, and next to that right here, this is the yarn for my Christmas sweater. So really excited about that. And already this, because this is not only my mood board, it's also the yarn that I really plan to knit with this season, and already I have gotten through a bit of that yarn, which is really fun to see this get more and more empty, even if it's prettier right now. And then in the shelf underneath that I have the red and lilac yarn, and the red yarn is going to be an Elizabeth blouse, which I for months and months have thought would be a project I would do, but the time has just never been there, and now I'm a bit unsure about doing the Elizabeth blouse since I've had a bit of issues with Petiteknit fitting. I am leaning towards maybe doing a more knit pattern, because those pattern or not those, but the one pattern I have from her that I've tried making really fit me very well. I really enjoyed knitting it as well. I knit the Paul cardigan by her, so I've thought about maybe doing that instead. And then this lilac yarn here is from Sandnes Garn Outlet that I bought that yarn this last winter, I think in February. And my plan for that the whole time has been to design a sweater myself, but I haven't really had the time. I thought I would do it this fall and then maybe this winter, but when I got it, I thought the wedding dress would be an easier knit and maybe take less time and be a bit easier, but the wedding dress takes a lot of time, so I have just postponed that, and I'll probably do it after the wedding dress is done. I think designing one thing at a time is enough, but now of course I've started designing the Christmas sweater instead. But that's probably also going to just be a very basic sweater. Also, I don't mean designing as in like making a pattern, just I want to challenge myself in knitting without patterns and making something just for me that I think will fit me perfectly. So really excited about that. And then this shelf underneath has a bit of like random yarn. It has the leftovers from my zipper sweater light that I made myself earlier this fall. The Drops Daisy, that I just don't know what to do with now. If I want to make a blanket, if I want to make my summer sweater, I can't quite decide. So that's just there waiting. And then I also have just some random tin merino wool from Sandnes garn that I also don't know what to do with. And then the shelf below that again that you can't see, that's where I have all of my all of my yarn for my mother sweater and my son's mother sweater, if I want to make those. I think I want to make those quite soon. I have thought about making my mother sweater as a Christmas cast on, but it's not making me super excited when I say it. Like the porcelain sweater last year, I was super excited about that, and I do really want a mother sweater, but I also want a Christmas cast on that just makes me super excited. So I'm still thinking a bit about that. But that's everything that's in my shelf over here. And then this shelf is just all of the hanks I have. That's no system at all. If it's hand dyed, if it's not, it's just all of my yarn that comes in hanks. That's over there. And then this is just yarn I usually use for baby knits, like superwash merinos, anything like that. And then at the floor, where you luckily can't see it, is all of my chaos, all of my like woolly yarn, all of my alpaca yarn, all of my wedding dress yarn, all of my planned baby knits, all of my mess. I'm very glad you can't see that, because when I say mess, I mean it. But yeah, the yarn stash looked better a couple of months ago, but even though I try to sort through it pretty regularly, when I knit from it, it just turns into a mess. But as 2025 starts, I think I want to go through my stash again, because I always think it's really fun to go through my stash and really figure out exactly how much yarn I have and try to sort it in a way where it looks the best and where I'm tempted to knit from the different yarn, and sort everything in the way I think it's most likely for me to use it. Last time I sorted through this, it was beginning to near summer, so more summery yarns and thinner yarns are more in front, whereas now we're in the middle of winter and I want to knit with warm wool, so I might change that out a bit, but I'm going to go through my stash in early January just to see. But I'm really happy with how much stash busting I've been able to do in December. I love the goal I set this December for Christmas gifts. I wanted to make a lot of people Christmas gifts, but instead of making a few people like bigger Christmas gifts, I wanted to make more people smaller Christmas gifts, and I wanted to make everything from my stash. And so far I've been able to do that. I haven't bought any yarn to make Christmas gifts, and I haven't gotten any like big grand ridiculous ideas as we've been closing in on Christmas either, which I usually do. No one is just randomly getting a sweater, no one is just randomly getting a cardigan, so I feel really good about that. And even though I love giving away those big gifts too, it's been amazing to not have to stress that much and just knit a pair of gloves here, knit a mitten, knit a hat here, knit a hat there. It's much quicker, it's much more fun. I get serotonin boosts all the time by finishing projects. So way prefer this way of doing gift knits, and hopefully I'll remember that and do more of this, because it's much more fun to do Christmas gifts when I'm also having fun making them, and it doesn't just turn into a month of stress. And I'm also really happy about being able to, hopefully I haven't finished them all, so not trying to jinx it, but it looks like I am going to be able to finish them all in 2024, which I am really happy about. I haven't done Christmas gifts the right side of Christmas since 2021. The first year I did knitted Christmas gifts was in 2021, but then I was also making my son's christening dress, and he was christened the 25th of December. So I didn't have a lot of time to do Christmas gifts at the same time, so I just said to everyone, you're going to get it in January, and then I just kept that up because I keep getting these big ideas for big projects in December. But this year, first of all, I did start early this year, and then I have kept 2 smaller gifts and tried to be strict with myself about not coming out with huge projects for myself or anyone else. And it's been really great. Of course, we're still pretty early in December, but I feel great about this year. I think I'm going to be able to not do anything crazy. And now I'm almost done weaving in the ends on this last hat, and I think I am going to ask my grandma for help weaving in the ends on the mittens, just because I think that's scary, and there's so many ends because of the color work and the thumb, and I don't want to do it, and it's also scary, and it's color work and everything. So my grandma is going to get to help me with that. But did weave in the ends on these 3 plus the 2 Sunday socks earlier this week, so I don't feel like that's too bad. And then also I'll have to weave in the ends on the 2 other Uværslua I'll have to make tonight and maybe early tomorrow morning. So I'm really happy with my progress on that. Really happy with the wedding dress and being able to try that on this week, and hopefully I'll have more to show with the sweater number 20 and the Christmas sweater and cardigan for myself and my son next week, and fingers crossed maybe I'll even have an ornament. But that was all for this week. I hope you had a good time watching. If you did enjoy this episode, please leave a like and a comment. That means the absolute world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!